We're in Saudi Arabia right now, climbing over rocky passes in the Saudi mountain range, where the Israelites, according to the Jabal al-Lawz Mount Sinai theory, where the Israelites would have been trekking around 1446 BC, or the 1446 to about 1406 BC. But now that we're in Saudi Arabia and there's not as long a history of established archaeological study, there's a lot of sites that really just barely have a dent in academia right now because the discoveries were fairly recent, or they're competing with older theories, more established theories that were developed in areas that had a bit more openness to archaeology from, say, the 19th century.
We're about 4 miles from Jabal al-Lawz in Saudi Arabia, the ancient land of Midian. Jabal al-Lawz could be the real Mount Sinai. Some circumstantial evidence that it could be is this graveyard, which is currently being excavated by Japanese archaeologists, could be the graveyard where about 3,000 Israelites were buried after they worshipped the golden calf. They were killed there. See Exodus 32 for more on this. The reason these tombs are marked with red paint is because the archaeologists are marking where they've excavated. Now, this hasn't been completely excavated yet, but it fits with the data. In fact, Muslims do not allow standing stones, so we know this is pre-Islam. In fact, it goes all the way back to the Bronze Age, some researchers say. Dr. Glenn Fritz did a lot of work in this area and says this is good circumstantial evidence that this could be the land where the Israelites buried those who were judged for worshiping the golden calf. One more thing, out here in this pre-Islamic graveyard, there's no population center for miles. To have hundreds or thousands of grave sites out here shows there had to be a large group of people maybe passing through. That, of course, would fit with the Exodus, which occurred about 3,500 years ago. We're in Saudi Arabia, the land of Midian, near Jabal al-Lawz, which is right behind me. That black peak could be the real Mount Sinai, and some researchers are saying that perhaps this natural rock formation could be the place where Aaron built and they worshiped the golden calf. It has a clear view of Mount Sinai. Moses could have seen them as he came down. And these bull petroglyphs are all over these rock formations here. There are scores of them. It makes sense that perhaps the Hebrews were worshiping cows, the golden calf, because they had just come from Egypt, where they had the god Hathor represented by a cow. Ready? We all walked a mile for this camel. He's a nice camel. Is it a he or a she? We even know? Anyway, there's a bunch of them around here. Our host, Ron DeSand, has been out here with Hebrew scholars and an archaeologist, and they tell us that many of the symbols on this wall are Hebrew, Proto-Hebrew, early Hebrew symbols or letters.
Which would have been consistent with the Mosaic era.
Yes, would have been consistent with the Mosaic era. So that's all we know. It is interesting, right in the middle of Saudi Arabia, northwest Saudi Arabia, there was some kind of Jewish presence here.
More evidence that the wilderness wanderings included Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, absolutely. we find these inscriptions of bulls and what appears to be even bull worship, because you have characters standing under bulls. Here, this one with his hands up. Where did the Israelites come from? Egypt. They had a god, a cow god called Hathor that they worshipped. Also, if you notice on this set of graffiti, this is a family program here, but I'll leave that for you to decide what that is. In Exodus 32, it says that the Israelites, after worshiping the golden calf, were at play. They were engaged in immoral activity. There is an archaeologist from George Washington University, Dr. 𝗧𝗓𝗍𝗘𝗗𝗓, who said that these inscriptions could come from the period of the Exodus. Read about this in Exodus 32. If you look behind me, this appears to be a corral to bring forth animals to this point, perhaps bulls or goats to sacrifice. In fact, you can see it very well from an aerial shot. If you look right down here, you can see what could be an altar, perhaps the altar of Moses described in Exodus 24. And right down this valley and up is Jabal al-Lawz, what could be the real Mount Sinai. And these pillars could be the pillars that are talked about in the book of Exodus that Moses set up, representing the 12 pillars or the 12 tribes of Israel. We found 9 of these circular ones down here. Right to my left here is what looks like a corral to bring animals, bulls and goats, to an altar over there. We have that altar in another video. And just up this valley to the right is Jabal al-Lawz, which could be the real Mount Sinai. On the other side of that ridge is the split rock that we think is the split rock of Horeb. That's where Moses hit the rock and God brought forth water to feed the thirsty Israelites. Right after that, the Amalekites, and by the way, you can read about all this in Exodus 17, the Amalekites who lived in this area saw that this area was rich in water. That's very valuable, obviously, in the desert. So it might be for that reason they attacked the Israelites. And that's when Moses held his arms up, maybe on a rock like this overlooking the valley. And when he did, Joshua and the Israelites were defeating the Amalekites. And when his arms went down, they were losing. Now, arms up at that point meant prayer. This is how people prayed in ancient times. They would put their arms up. So this signified that when Moses was praying, God was with them. When Moses had his arms down and not praying, then the Israelites began to lose to the Amalekites. They kept his arms up, holding them up, putting rocks under his arms. Eventually, the Israelites won the battle, fended off the aggressive Amalekites, and they could continue on their journey to the promised land. When Moses took the Israelites through the Red Sea, they got into this wilderness, modern-day Saudi Arabia, ancient Midian, and they were complaining. It was too hot, it was too cold, we don't have enough to eat, we don't have Wi-Fi, whatever. They just were upset, and they said to Moses, Are we just gonna die out here in the desert because we don't have any water? We need water. So Moses struck the rock and water came out. Now I used to think he hit a rock like this. No, he didn't hit a rock like this. He hit a rock like that. That is what we believe to be the rock at Horeb. You can see how big that is. Those are people in our group trying to make their way up it. It's a huge split rock, and there's signs of water erosion all around this area. So what we're gonna do is head on up and see what we can see when we get up there. Let's go. In the hill just across the valley from the split rock of Horeb, we see a bunch of jagged rocks. But when you come over to the split rock area, you see the rocks are a lot smoother, as if a whole bunch of water at one point came down from the split rock, and it appears there's erosion on the split rock itself, which could be the result of upward pressure of water. We've got to have this verified with a geologist, but it really looks odd. It really does look like there was a lot of water that came out of this area here in Midian, the land we now call Saudi Arabia, just a few miles from Jabal al-Lawz, the mountain that could be the real Mount Sinai. Top of the split rock of Horeb, there's my friend Hugh down there. Do you see past him down there, all the way where 𝗤𝗡𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗡𝗏 is way down there, the guy in the black shirt? Look at all that water erosion, all in the valley below here, the split rock. It goes way out there, hundreds of yards. And this probably would feed into a lake down there. There's actually a truck. A couple of trucks, as you can see far off in the distance. That is the road that they're using to build what is called NOEM, N-O-E-M. The Saudi Arabian government is building a bunch of resorts and a number of structures out in this area, and so they put that road in as a logistics road to bring in supplies. But out in that area, you could imagine a great lake at one point. This is absolutely amazing. Again, we're in the land of Midian, modern day Saudi Arabia.
It's early morning. We are en route to Mount Sinai, or what we believe to be Mount Sinai, Jabal al-Lawz, for a day hike. But yeah, we get to see the sunrise on Sinai right now. Let's see if Turek. This is what it looks like early morning. And I think we're going to that dark peak off in the distance.
By the way, a lot of Christians have tried to say that the blackened peak is somehow evidence that this is Mount Sinai. It's not evidence this is Mount Sinai, because that's just a basalt top, and there's many other basalt tops in Saudi Arabia. We saw them coming in, and if that's granite, it doesn't burn. There's no hydrocarbons in it, and if it was burnt, there'd be some kind of residue we could detect, which we can't.
It's not like there's a burnt layer or ash making it black.
No. Now,
it could still be.
Could God miraculously do something? Of course he could, but if there's a naturalistic explanation for that, because we see it on other peaks, that's what we ought to say.
Yeah.
Plain right here, which some call the plain of the 70 elders, because if you go to Exodus 24, Moses brings 70 elders up to this point, but then he goes further up the mountain to meet God on that blackened peak. By the way, that blackened peak is not because God descended on it. That's basalt, but it does look really cool. We're going to go up there because when you go on vacation with CrossExamined, it's not just a vacation, it's an adventure. Let's go. What you're looking at is where we think Elijah's cave is. That's the cave in 1 Kings 19 he went to here at Jabal al-Lawz. If this is the real Mount Sinai, we're in Saudi Arabia, the land of Midian. That cave is on the sheer face of Jabal al-Lawz, and we're gonna try and get there. Let's go.
I'm standing here in Elijah's cave. I'm a little bitter today because it took us an extra hour and a half off trail to get here, but it's historically significant and very much worth it. Elijah, if this is the right place, this is where Elijah fled to get away from Jezebel and Ahab during the persecution of the prophets when they were coming down hard on the prophets of Israel.
Heading to summit up there. Legs feeling pretty heavy. Probably about 6,000 to 7,000 feet.
It was a long, hard climb, but I think we made it in record time, about 3 hours and 15 minutes. And if this is Mount Sinai, you could see down in that valley what we think is where the gold calf altar was. Moses could see it. He could see as he's coming down this mountain, the revelry that was going on, because it's right at the base of this hill in that valley right down there.